With over 9,000 deaths per year in Ireland related to cancer, it accounts for approximately 30% of annual mortality. While treatments and medications are improving year on year, there's still a long, long way to go. Cancer patients have their lives turned on its head with news of a diagnosis. Apart from the physical manifestation of the illness, there comes the emotional strife, not just to the patient themselves, but to their family too. Today we're meeting with someone who runs a centre which aims to offer support to those who find themselves in that very position. What are the things that people battling cancer find helpful? How has 2020 affected the service? And how can we support the cause? We're going to talk about that and more right now. Hi, you're listening to The Fight Coach, The Psychotherapist and The Gym Mama. FCPGM is a weekly podcast where we discuss important topics that affect you and your family and tips we suggest that might just help you out. On today's episode, we're joined by someone who manages a cancer support network in Cork in Ireland. We'll be discussing the ins and outs of what's involved and what we can do to help. More on our guest in just a bit. As per usual, I'm joined by James White of API Clinics, a psychotherapist well versed in the world of mental health, stress management and anxiety.
How's it going?
Marlene Griffin, aka the Gym Mama, a parent of 3, an owner-manager of a busy martial arts and fitness gym, and a lifelong martial artist.
Hi there.
My name is Liam O'Griffin. I'm a professional MMA coach and an e-learning developer with an engineering background. If you'd like to follow along with us using our show notes, you can get them at www.fcpgm.com. There you'll find links to our Facebook community page, our Twitter feed, and our Discord server. If you'd like to join the conversation and add your experience and feedback, we'd love to hear from you. So, let's begin. That was a very abrupt end there. Sorry about that. But anyway, welcome to the podcast, guys. So, as I said, today we have a very special guest in-house, Miss Linda Goggin James, who is the General Manager of the Cork Cancer Care Centre. In a former life, she was involved in the beauty industry and found herself getting involved in the Cork Cancer Care Centre when it was known as the Girls Club. And she's going to fill in the gaps around that. So, Linda, you're very welcome to the podcast.
Hi.
Thanks for coming in. And I suppose we will start off with that question. Who is Linda Goggin James and how did you get involved in the Cork Cancer Care Centre?
I suppose I'm a mum of 2 boys, and I was working for myself at the time when a friend of mine got breast cancer, and she had a little boy the same age as my youngest boy at the time, so it would have been about 2 years old. And as her cancer progressed, she spoke about the sports centre she used to go into called the Girls Club and how much she depended on him to support her mentally as well as physically while she was going through her cancer treatment. So one day she pulled me in to come in and see the centre, and I met Anne Dowley-Spillane, who ran the centre. I thought the place was beautiful and very calming, and I suppose I had an understanding because I had people in my own family who had cancer and who had passed from cancer. So later on in 2014, in October, sadly, my friend passed away. And I spoke to Anne and said, if you need help in any way, just pick up the phone. And within 24 hours, she'd picked up the phone and asked me would I come in and help her in promoting the centre. And that's where the story started. I never left.
And I suppose just as you mentioned, Anne Dowley-Spillane, I know from reading the website that Anne was the pioneer of what was formerly known as the founder, exactly, as what was formerly known as the Girls Club. Can you give us a little bit of a background story about Anne and the Girls Club and how it formed into the Cork Cancer Care Centre then?
Anne started the centre back in, 2011. When she was diagnosed with cervical cancer herself. She found it very tough. She found she had nobody to speak to, and she wanted to speak to other women going through the journey as well. So she started up meeting once a month in town, in one of the hotels in town, and they would sit and they talk and they would support each other and they would pass on information on their journey to each other. And within 12 months, Anne opened a centre just in Paul's Avenue. And she started looking into holistic therapies, looking into counselling. So she brought everybody who had great expertise in that area into the centre. And the centre started thriving from there. But by the time when I came in 2014 and then we were going into 2015, we started gentlemen started asking, could they come into the centre? Then we were asked, could we see young adults? So that's why the name changed in 2017, because it was no longer the girls' club. It was no longer just women. It was men, women and young adults that we were seeing. So that's how everything started changing from there. Sadly, we lost Anne in 2017 when her cancer returned. But her journey and her legacy is still going on stronger than ever.
Yeah, absolutely. So for those that are watching in, I know we had some technical issues with sound there a minute ago, but for those who are watching in, you can kind of get a sense of this Anne's backstory as well, just going on from that, from the website, www.corkcancercarecentre.ie. So we'll try and get some images up on that in a minute. Have you guys got questions that you want to jump onto? Or?
Well, I suppose, I think I have great admiration for the job you're doing, because, I often joke here in the gym that, biologically, my bladder is just next to my eyes, so the least little thing. And I'm no good to somebody if they're upset, because I'm actually probably going to cry and things like that, which is fine in a gym. But, that must be, for me, being such a softie, but at the same time, I would consider myself caring. To be able to do what you're doing is just incredible. And how do you manage to be, emotionally with people?
I think at the start, I would have found it very hard myself, especially if I had a young mother with children coming into me who'd been just diagnosed. I understood because I was a mom and I did have children. So I felt that I almost joined them when they started crying, and I would find it very hard to hold back what I was feeling, and I just wanted to get up out of the seat and wrap my arms around them and tell them everything is going to be all right. But one day Anne pulled me aside after somebody left. I hadn't cried in front of the person, but when the person left, I was quite emotional. And she said to me, "You're not helping the person. You're not helping the person if you're crying with them, because what happens is they're holding back their emotions. They can't let it out because they're upsetting you." So after a while, and a lot of learning, and a lot of meditation, and learning from others and counsellors as well, because it is learning. We keep learning as we go along inside the centre. You find it easier. You find you know what to say. You find you're understanding. Of course, you want to wrap your arms around them.
You're still emotional.
You're still emotional,
yeah,
and you still do. And we do wrap our arms around them. When they're finished speaking, we do go and wrap our arms around them and tell them, but you can't tell them everything is going to be all right. We can tell them we can walk beside you and help you as long as, as much as we can as you go through this journey, and find what they're looking for, what area they need most support in. Sometimes it's because they're worried about their husband at home, or the husband's here and he's worried about his wife. So that's how we reach out to the family as well. And the counselling is there for family, it's there for young children, it's there for young adults.
And fabulous.
I suppose, Jimmy, you have something similar to that with regards to dealing with kind of counselling and psychotherapy, and you've got a lot of patients and clients who have conversations with you that could get you possibly down as well. So this is something you have a lot of experience in. So is there anything that you could add to that conversation?
So I suppose every single one of us are human, and we all have different emotions and connections with different stories. Some stories are easier to hear when it's not directly connected to you, so you can have that sort of space in between understanding and empathy and compassion for the person, that it doesn't emotionally affect you, even though you may still feel some sadness to the person. It's tougher when it actually connects with you. So obviously, from the cancer point of view, if you have been directly affected by cancer and you're working in that area, it's a little bit more tougher for you to distance yourself from the emotion because you have that direct connection. But say from the counselling and psychotherapy side of you, I would have people who would come in and tell me stories to do with, you know, maybe when they were younger or when they were in their teens or something, and it would actually connect directly with me, and I could feel the emotion of what they're going through because I've been there or I went through it too. And it is a case of being able to, like what Linda said, the question on my head when I get involved in that or get caught up in my own emotion is, what is of support to that person right now? And I know that crying isn't, because obviously there will be a disconnect. So in regards to tools and tips and how to deal with it, there's many out there. Breathing is one, meditation is the other, understanding yourself, being able to take a step back. But there's no one tip that's going to work for everybody, because look, when you're dealing with emotions and connection with a human person that's opposite you, it's hard, you know. So when you're finished your work, then you have to have a routine of something that you do to close the door and work and open the door back on your life for the rest of the evening or whatever, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And just in terms of the centre, Linda, can you give the listeners a kind of a walkthrough? What happens when someone makes first contact with the centre, and what is it that the centre provides in terms of services and support to that person?
People reach out many ways. I suppose the last 12 months has been slightly different. A lot of people before would have been recommended by a person who had used the service already, and they would bring the person in. A lot of people just knock on the door. Sadly, we're so close to the Mercy Hospital that a lot of people have walked straight from the hospital to our door just after being diagnosed. So really, it's make them comfortable. We bring them in, make them comfortable. We sit them down. And then you go through the steps of what's available to that person. So the steps would be, we do counselling, we do psychotherapy. Before the lockdown, we had a whole lot of holistic therapies. Our policy would always be that somebody would go for counselling, and when they come out of counselling, we put them into holistic therapy. And the reason we do that, which we started doing it about 4 years ago, is that I found when people came out of counselling are very emotional and they're crying, and that's only natural. That's part of healing. And they come down, they apologise that they're crying and they're upset, and we're trying to explain to them it's very positive to cry because you're cleansing. But it was very hard for me to see him try and go out onto the street. So I thought, well, if they went in for a bit of holistic afterwards, by the time they came out of their holistic therapy, they were after calming down. They were relaxed. And then maybe sometimes they didn't associate being heartbroken with counselling. So that's how we work it with people. We also ask them who's their main carer. So it could be a husband, it could be a wife. A lot of people, it's their best friend, especially with women. It's their best friend who step in and take care of the kids or get them to the hospital because their husband is working. So then we ask, we support them as well if we can. If they want it, it's there for them. Because it's very important when someone's going through cancer that you support their foundations. Because their foundations are the people who are keeping them upright as they're going through it. So if their foundations aren't strong, then it all falls apart. So it's important that we know who's their support system as well. And they know that when the person's coming home after treatment or had a particularly bad day in the hospital, there's somebody there to listen to it. You know, there's somebody there who is able to accept what's happening, and they're taking care of themselves as well at the same time. So we offer this. Now, we also offer a service called the Cancer Warriors, which is, to be honest, is mainly all women at the moment. And it's a support group of women. They're ranging between 25 to maybe 50. And we had meetups quite regularly in the centre, and they would meet up and chat. Because the best way to find out what you're going through is to meet someone who's gone through it. So we find it's great. It's almost like a buddy up system So somebody's just started, is with somebody who's 12 months out or somebody 2 years out. And then we started up a WhatsApp group, because when we would ask a lot of questions like, oh, this made me feel sick. After chemo, I was very sick. Do you have any idea what you took? Which would be a natural, obviously. So the group gradually built. And at the moment on our WhatsApp group, I think we've about 59 women on it. And the phone is buzzing all day long because they support each other. All through the lockdown, it was the best thing that we ever did. We realised that we had the system set up for them. So they're talking to each other and supporting each other as they're going through the treatment. And women are great for boosting other women up, saying, look, you can do it, it's fine. Or even they're talking about family, or they're talking about just different things, just to know there's somebody out there that they can pick up their phone if they can't get in. Now, obviously, our centre is still open to counselling and psychotherapy. We can't do holistic. I should say holistic touch therapies, because we obviously can't touch each other at the moment. So that is still ongoing, and it's getting stronger, and we're getting more clients because of the lockdowns as well. It's just people are more scared. They feel more alone at the moment. So the likes of Jimmy and our other therapists are working every hour that's been sent to them, because they support people as much as they can as they're going through it as well.
And I think just to touch on the holistic treatment on the back end of the counselling, like science and research has looked into this, and when we have a psychological distress in our brain or our mind, and we can talk about it, or we do CBT, or we do counselling, or we do psychotherapy, it also manifests in your body in some way, shape or form. So it's recommended that you do a body treatment, like a massage or whatever the case may be, or exercise, or coming to the gym or whatever, just to release that energy that's built up from the actual psychological trauma and stuff that's gone on for you, you know. So it's part and parcel of work with body and mind at the same time, you know.
And you mentioned kind of working with the primary caregiver as well. Do the services extend to
Yes.
to the families of we say the patient
So we
zero?
call it, we would support the person who's going through cancer and their primary care giver. So as I said, some people just automatically think it's family. It's not family for everybody. As I said, a lot of people, it's their best friend. Or it's somebody who's there all the time supporting them. And that's who we need to support. We just, for instance, I had someone there a few years ago whose daughter was going through cancer. And she was running herself ragged up and down to the hospital, sitting through all the chemo. And eventually someone told her to come into us. Now, it took 3 attempts before she came in. And what we were saying to her is simple as, she's in and she's getting her chemo or her radium. It's taking a few hours. This is the time you should be taking out, because you can do nothing for him, and go and get holistic therapy or get your counselling done. Because the stronger you are, the stronger the person who's going through it will be then as well.
As they say, you can't feed from an empty bowl.
Exactly. And that's what we try to explain, because you find a person who's going through cancer is worried about their partner or their caregiver, and vice versa. And they're not helping each other because they're too worried about each other. So if we can step in and say, look, this is what we're going to help you on this line, or we're going to help you to relax, or do our Jimmy does meditations, which are fantastic. And you're asking away, how do I calm down? The meditations I find fantastic, of way switching off. Even something sitting into our yoga, sitting into our meditations, it just calms them down and makes them able to face what they are facing that day.
And we spoke just before we came on air as well, that like in our everyday jobs here in the gym, we're meeting new people all the time. New people are coming to the gym, joining up either for self-defense, fitness, weight loss, weight gain, whatever it is that they come to do. And we become part of a process, but that process is usually ending up in, we say, some sort of success story at the end. Unfortunately, with the role that you're in, some of the people that you meet eventually are not there anymore, and that must take a toll. And how do you manage that? How, like, that's something I would find very, very tough to manage with.
I would agree, because even there we had somebody move to England for, that was in the gym and is now over. Isaac is in England, and we felt that is a big deal. So that it must be incredible. Like,
I suppose when they come in, we almost become a family, because everybody's protecting, and they become a part of the unit that we are. It's very tough, because as you get to know someone, you get to know their family, you know about their kids, and it does, each one of them that we sadly lose, they do leave a huge gap in our hearts when they're gone. But they also, what I try to tell people is, if you meet someone, the most amazing thing I find to hear from my cancer warriors, which stuns me, and I've heard it so many times, they've said to me, look, I got cancer. And I said, right. But they said, and everyone says, that's terrible. But they were saying, if I didn't get cancer, I wouldn't have met the people I've met here in the centre. So I'm not sorry I got it, which is quite shocking when you hear it that way. But what they mean is that these people who they are now meeting and who they become part of their life, interwoven in their life, they think they would have never ever met him. And they see things, I think when people go through such a traumatic thing with their body and with their mind, they see things differently and they appreciate things differently. And I think they make us appreciate things differently. I think definitely when you're around people who are like this and that they're going on, you just realise I'm so happy I met him. I'm so happy they became a part of my life as well.
Yeah, and that's kind of, I suppose, really, that's what I admire about it, because, it's like, even in my Facebook page, I have, women you are like tea bags. And the same thing, you never know how strong they are until you put them into a bit of hot water. And like these people, even in my Gym Mama's tribe, it's all about people, I suppose. In the Gym Mama's tribe, I probably talk about women who inspire, but it's not just women. It's everybody. And often the people who have the most hardship are the ones who just show so much strength and have that, as you say, an appreciation for life. We have it ourselves in the gym. It's often the people who struggle the most, their success along the way is the sweeter. That it does actually. So I do think that it is amazing. I think to meet people, like even there, I think last Friday night Vicky Phelan was on the Late Late Show, and I mean, like, an extraordinary person,
amazing lady,
extraordinary. Like, because here she is, and we're all talking about, we're all worried about the lockdown and we can't go here and we can't go there, and there's this woman and she's now heading to America, and her only thought is to get maybe another 2 years with her kids, and maybe hopefully there'll be something else, and that's how she's worked, how she's lasted this long. So the actual strength of somebody and the willpower it's inspiring. Inspiring, really, like. So
it is. We were very lucky. Vicky sent her book to us there a few months ago.
Just before Christmas.
Just before Christmas. Beautiful quotation inside it. Vicky would be very good friends with Stephen Teep, who sadly lost his wife Irene, and Stephen is a wonderful sport to us. We see him quite often. I speak to him quite often, who I think is an amazing person, who lost his wife so young and is really mom and dad to his two boys, and how inspiring he is that he keeps the battle and the fight going on for people who pass from cervical cancer and people who are still fighting cervical cancer. But it's all about reaching out and helping each other. I mean, Stephen reached us to help people that he knew needed help, and vice versa. Recently we needed his help with somebody, and that's how it works. you have to support each other. We're not going to get anywhere if we don't.
And I
We
think
really do.
the other, what drew me after meeting Anne and what drew me into, well, I suppose me still being in the centre in some capacity, is that you make loads of memories with these people, and even though you have sort of sad and tough memories, there's lots of funny memories. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's what, sometimes it's hard to get through to people what actually happens in the Cork Cancer Care Centre, and it isn't all doom and gloom, even though, yes, we're dealing with a very, very serious disease. There is fun and games.
There is.
And laughter and crying. But I think that's what it is. The impact that they leave on you helps you manage then emotionally from the loss of them, because you can remember the good times, you know.
Yeah.
And just on that as well, we were talking a little bit just before we started recording as well. One of the questions I was going to ask, and you kind of preempted it when we were talking earlier, is that the survival rates over the last few years, it is getting better all of the time.
It is.
And have you noticed a change, even in the time that you've been involved in the centre? Has there been an improvement?
Definitely. As I said, I came in the end of 2014, and we are now looking into 2021, so it's nearly 7 years. And we have, sadly, at the first few years, I found quite tough, because we were talking about losing 9, 10, 11. So nearly every month, it felt like we were losing one of our own, as we would say. But only for cancer research and people doing what they're doing in cancer research. The difference now is people are surviving with cancer. And that's what we must remember. Before, we'd hear people saying, oh, they're cured. That's something you don't hear anymore. You hear from oncologists making statements that it's now being treated like a long-term illness. Once you get cancer, you have cancer.
Yeah.
You're now learning how to live with cancer. That's the difference. They treat cancer now like if you have a heart condition or your diabetes, it's something you're going to have to live with and learn how to live with it. So now and we have a lot more people now than we had 7 years ago attending the centre, an awful lot more people. We were so happy to say only last year we only lost 3 people, and to us, we have definitely double, if not more.
Yeah.
I would say, Jimmy, of clients. That's just amazing. You know, that's just amazing. I think the oncologists that we have in Cork, we're extremely lucky to have. I don't know if people realise it, but Cork has the biggest rate of cancer in the country.
Really?
But we have the highest rate of cancer down south. So
is there any reason for that? Is there any?
They've done so much research, and something we even looked into ourselves, and even going to conferences. They're researching this for nearly 15, 20 years, and they don't know why. The rates are a lot higher in the south of Ireland, especially strange enough, for breast cancer is quite very, very high down there. Even in our own centre, we would say if it's in the ladies group, the women's group, breast cancer is taking at least 78% of our clients have breast cancer, if not more.
And would that be upsetting now at the moment, like with lockdown and then all these?
It's scary.
Like the you know, when breast check had to be stopped and everything, you know, that must be very, very scary, thinking that it's so high here.
I mean,
You're just reading it this morning because you were reading about it because they've just stopped them again now because they had started again and cervical check, isn't it, as well?
And cervical check has been stopped now as well. In case emergency cases, yes, that would be that you were sent on from your doctor, or you a pre-existing condition and they're worried about you. Yes, you'll get it done, but the everyday breast check is not being done at the moment. And as we were saying earlier, when Liam was saying 9,000 we lost, but that was in 2019. We have no idea how many we've lost in 2020.
Yeah.
So which is even scary, waiting to see what these results are going to be. But I think the more important is we need to help the living more than anything, and let them how to survive and live with cancer is the most important thing. And we were saying, Jimmy said they're great sense of humour, especially within the warrior group. We've 3 amazing new cancer warrior ladies. They all had breast cancer. They're all young moms. But the support system they receive, they talk about, but they support each other, which is fantastic. And their sense of humour and the way they approach life is so important when you're going through a cancer. It's the way you approach it is a huge factor in helping you on the journey.
Just on the you mentioned the lockdown, a few different cases, but just in general, how has we said the various forms of lockdown that we've had since last March, how has that affected the operation of the centre, and has it, more importantly, has it affected fundraising?
In a sense, how it's affected is our calls have at least tripled. People are very scared. They're very frightened. They're worrying, are they going to be will their treatment start? If they're starting chemo, is the chemo going to go ahead? Is the radium going to go ahead? So that part of it is very, very scary for them. Financially, it's pretty crippling, to be honest. And that's understandable. I think really cancer was shelved last year. People didn't realise it wasn't getting the support that we need. I'm talking about ourselves. We normally, it's from individuals, which we're so grateful for, the people of Cork who support us. We do 100% need more corporate people to step up and help us as well, and come in and see what we were doing, or talk to us so they can see what we do, the amount of families we've helped, the amount of people we see every week, Zoom every week, talk to on the phone every week. So I think we're busier now than we were in 2019. So financial help is a huge important to us to keep going what we're doing now, so we can continue to help as many as we can.
And I suppose just for the sake of the listeners and the viewers, we just need to point out that the Cork Cancer Care Centre is not government funded. Everything that you do is 100% reliant on the generosity of the public and of corporate sponsors, and any form of fundraising that anybody that would be willing to step up to do. That's how the Cork Cancer Care Centre keeps going, and that's how it manages to offer the services to the people in need. So obviously we would like to be part of some sort of a push that gets people over to the website www.corkcancercarecentre.ie. Anybody wanting to donate or run a fundraiser, or maybe coerce some corporate bodies that they're involved in to maybe talk to the Cork Cancer Care Centre about maybe doing some form of sponsorship. So, and is that the best way of people to get in touch? Is just through the website?
Through the website. They can do it through our Facebook, which we have huge following on our Facebook pages. They can contact us by Cork Cancer or Gmail account as well. There's many ways to contact us, to be honest. You can pick up the phone and there's someone always answering.
But I suppose there's not one of us could say that we don't know somebody. You know, it's like even in this time at the moment, we're saying, oh, do you know somebody with COVID? But actually, none of us would have to think very hard. Do we know somebody with cancer? And it's kind of, it does come to so many doors.
It does.
That, you know, it would be great if people kind of just, you know, thought about it more, and, you know, because it's like anything else, you never know till you're in the situation yourself.
Exactly.
And it'll be greatly appreciated if these services are there.
Very much so, because as I said, I am extremely lucky. Everything that's in the centre is a volunteer, and I have the most amazing volunteers in Cork City, and I say it all the time. The centre would not be there only for all these counsellors and holistic therapists and yoga instructors. We would be lost, that they give their time so freely of it. But still, there's a lot to run a centre, and it takes a lot of money to keep the centre going and up to the standards, and especially when we were going through COVID, the standards what we had to bring in, and we just need help so we can continue to help people.
And one question I was going to ask is that, you know, we'll say in Cork, you say now that cancer, we're the biggest in Ireland, in the south for cancer. Like the the Cancer Club, are you unique in what you offer, or like in that? Obviously, you said earlier you're not medical, so you have
Yeah.
the medical side, which would be the hospital and the oncologist and everything like that. And then, like, this is me. I know that there's an ARC house. There's
Yeah.
so like, is that like what you're offering? Like, is not on the medical side of things.
No,
Would I be right
no.
in saying that?
Yeah.
That
No, we would be delighted if
Oh, no,
someone
no,
from the
yeah.
medical world would like to volunteer. But our aspects, the way we come across, I suppose it's like home away from home.
yeah.
So our approach is very much come in and it's a family unit. People are able to speak freely. They feel there's no stupid questions.
Yeah.
There, as I said, it's more like
Well, it
sitting down and being comfortable. We have a lot younger age group too as well in the
Yeah.
Cork Cancer Care Centre. So a lot of our women are in their 30s and 40s. So I suppose it's a younger bracket of people we would be seeing. Obviously we have people in their 50s and 60s as well, but our biggest group would be 30 to 45. That's male and female would be
Yeah.
our biggest group that we see.
I suppose what I was trying to say is probably, the way, like, you're a very important part of of everything that's involved in cancer in Cork.
Well-
If you know what I mean, that you're not providing something.
Yeah.
You're
It's a
not,
support.
it is like
It's a
that.
support.
It's something that's not available in the medical side, and you're accompanying the medical side.
That's
then,
it.
but you're, kind of, you're so it works hand
Like
in
our
hand.
whole idea, especially if you speak to anyone going through cancer, they almost have to carry a diary around with them because they have so many appointments.
Yes.
They're pulled and they're dragged and everything to help them. But while all this is going on, nobody's dealing with mentally
Yeah.
what they're going through
Exactly.
or how they're feeling
Feeling, yeah.
inside.
Or the
So-
families, as you say.
Or the families. So this is an area where they can come in and be themselves. As I said, when somebody's going through cancer, they have many masks. They have the one for the doctor. They have one for the husband or the wife, how they're feeling. They have one for the kids. They have for their friends. And they hide behind them because it's safer to hide behind them. When they come through the door, the masks are dropped because they're able to talk to other cancer survivors or warriors or whatever you feel comfortable with calling them. So they're able to be themselves. They're able to talk about their fears, their anxieties, their anger.
Yeah.
You know, and like someone said, does cancer change you? It does and it doesn't. I think cancer, the one thing cancer definitely brings into your life is fear. The biggest thing I think it'll bring in. And it's something we try to help them to learn to live with because it never really goes away. It's teaching mechanisms that Jimmy would do, meditations, different things that you try and trick your brain in to feel safe.
Yeah.
And that's what we're there to do.
And I think the way I would explain it on top of the question that you asked is that it's a place where there's no time limit. So it's not clinical.
Yeah.
So it gives you that space to just be who you are, say what
Yeah.
you need to say. You're not in and out within 40 minutes. Do you know what I mean? Now, obviously, in your sessions, particularly the counselling sessions, holistic sessions, you are, but the actual office downstairs and the room downstairs where you can have a cup of tea and a coffee, you can just go in and sit down and just chill. So that would be the difference. That would be one of the unique parts that we would have in there as well. Like, do you know what I mean? That it is like a home away from home where you can actually just be free to do rant and rave, use bad language, whatever it is you need to do. Like
get through your day.
Anne's message was, we're going to talk about it. Do you know what I mean? And that's
Yeah.
what we do. We're going to talk about it. We don't shy away from it. You know, it's not
And something people need to know too as well is that when they come in, they're not told you have a certain amount of sessions in counselling. You have a certain amount of sessions in holistic. We tell people we give you the sessions as long as you need them, which is very important, where a lot of us come and they say, well, we're told we only can have 9 or we can only have 12. And from me just speaking to Jimmy and the other counsellors go, Linda, we're only touching the iceberg. We're literally only touching the tip of the iceberg with those. So we're there as long as they need us.
Yeah.
And then when it's time to go, it's great. It means we've done their job and they're quite happy to close the door and go on. Our problem is make him go on the next step, you know.
And I know some of the things that go very well are the blanket of hope.
Yes.
That's a lovely, lovely scheme, and I'm delighted because Liam and I were working with the transition years in Blarney,
Right.
and we gave out Jimmy brought home the wool, and we brought it all out. So I think you're going there,
Yeah.
afterwards. But even here, we have one man, and like his wife has one of the blankets, and that's his comfort now that she's gone as well.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? That it's
You hear
such-
many stories that people
Yeah.
bring to us, especially you hear moms who got the blanket and are doing well now, but you find their kids have the blanket. 'Cause
Tell us
that's
how
their
that's
comfort.
what's involved in that.
So Anne started it back in January 2014, and it was women coming in and whatever speaking about after chemo, how cold they felt. They just felt cold. They couldn't warm up and they felt cold all the time. And Anne said, does anyone know somebody who can knit? Can you get a few people to knit some blankets and we'll get some because there's nothing like a wool blanket to keep you warm. So they went and asked the volunteers, do you know anyone? Does your wife knit, or do you know anyone who would do it? And it started that way. And it started building. So little groups, knitting groups would start doing it. So they used to meet in, I think, one morning every fortnight, around, that was 2014, 2015. Then the groups changed, went inside. So more women came in and more knitting women came in and said, can we meet up? So we were then moved to Monday morning, Thursday morning and a Wednesday night for women who work. So they would come in the evening and do the knitting. So it's done by knitting groups all over the country, which is unbelievable. It's done by schools. Blarney have made blankets for us a few years ago. They're great, fantastic. But the blanket is made. They come to us. We sterilise the blankets. We pack the blankets. We label them and give the information of all services. Like, we're the only free wig bank in Ireland. So that's something, we're the only charity that does it. So we shave the heads and give free wigs to people who can't afford to have wigs during treatment. So all that information is put into the blanket. And then we hand them to the oncology wards all around Cork. They also go to Dublin. We supply them to Ronald MacDonald in Dublin, the children's unit. St. John's ward in Dublin also gets it from us. A few around Galway hospitals and Clare have received blankets. Waterford and Kerry have received blankets. It just kept growing because people caught on with the idea. It meant so much when you speak to people, and Jimmy would see it quite often, come into the office and say, oh, I got a blanket 3 years ago. And we say, oh, so happy to hear that. Do you like it? And they'd be like, are you joking? And they'll pull it out of their bag that they've with them.
Liam would understand that because he had a shawlie.
So,
when he was young, like, because you know, a
but that's what they call them, their blankie.
Yeah,
Their
because
blankie.
Liam used to have the shawlie and he used to rub it there because it is a comfort.
It is. It's like the women say when they receive them, they're blown away because they're either in treatment or they're on.
Yeah.
We have a wonderful lady called Christine in the Dunmanway Street in CUH who's amazing for handing out the blankets for us. And she said, it's even their faces light up. Oh, somebody made this for me. Really? Who? And they're like, we don't know. Somebody just made it. And the blankets are just stunning. Which we hear people saying, oh, I've brought it to Ibiza, I've brought it to America. My blanket comes, everything's in the back of the car. If I get tired, I stop my car and throw my blanket over it. But we do hear stories of people say, oh, such and such person passed away. Their blanket was either buried with them or passed on to their spouse, which is the sad parts. But then you hear the very good parts where people say, oh, I have the blanket. And if my small one can't go to sleep, I put the blanket over because she can smell me from the blanket. It's just a lovely,
Yeah, no,
it's
it's
a
a
lovely
fabulous
idea.
idea. Fabulous.
So I think we hit, what was it this year? 25,000 the 24th of December. So
And they've been
25,000.
posted all over the world. People from Australia and stuff have actually asked, we've seen you online and we're wondering if...
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they've gone but then we have people who knit in Wales. There's a lady 92 years of age, knits blankets for us and posts them over to us. We've a lady in France, the same, she's in her late 80s, who makes beautiful crocheted blankets and posts them to us. And you're like, how did you hear about it? And then they go, Facebook. And you're like, but you're 88 and you're on Facebook. And they do. And they send them out to us. But as Jimmy said, we post, on average, especially during the lockdown, I suppose about 15 blankets a week are being posted out across Europe as well to people, you know, so.
Fabulous.
And so that's one of the I don't suppose it's really a fundraising thing. It's more of like part of the support network. But in terms of the fundraising, lots of people have organised events on behalf of Cork Cancer Care Centre. Can you give us an example of your favourite one or the most successful one to date?
We'll read a lady who did some fundraising, was attached to actually Marks and Spencer's, who were our charity partners last year. But one of their staff went way out to help us, and she was outstanding. Actually, there was 2 ladies there; they were outstanding. Christine did a karaoke night, a bingo singing karaoke night, and I never saw so many people laughing so hard. It was absolutely brilliant. I have to admit, we really enjoyed it. People got really competitive on it. The other was Mary, who was there, and she did a spin-a-town for us with Sean Oak. Actually got up on the bike for us and cycled away for us to raise money, which was very successful. But she made it fun. She made every single staff member get up onto the seat, or anyone passing by, she dragged up onto the bike to cycle. So people are just absolutely fantastic what they do, you know. They come up with great ideas. We're just sometimes, well, how do you think of that? But anything they can do to support us, we're very grateful.
Absolutely. And I think that's the thing. I mean, a lot of people might not be in a position to donate, particularly now that, you know, everybody is struggling financially.
Exactly.
But anything at all that can, like an event, can raise much needed funds. So like a cake sale or a karaoke or like even an online Zoom quiz night. They've been very, very popular and something like that. So if any of the listeners or anybody watching has any sort of time to do that,
popular.
it would be a great help.
I think in this lockdown anyway, it's not if somebody can come up with an idea that actually is fun for them and they are helping you at the same time. I mean, it's a win-win then for everybody.
Yeah.
You know, it's like everybody just pulling together and making the best of it, and in the, you know, kind of coming out of this lockdown saying, yeah, look, this is what I did and it was great, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Fabulous.
And I think we all feel better when we help people.
Oh, absolutely.
You know,
absolutely.
I was going to ask about the just the future of the Cork Cancer Care Centre. If it's not, like, I mean, I know the services are as they are right now, and you're helping as many people as you can, and, you know, you've got a phenomenal track record of success. But in the long term, what would you like to add, or would you like to expand, or would you like to add more sections to the centre? What's the long-term plan of the Cork Cancer Care Centre?
There's a long-term plan, and there will be a long-term dream. And I suppose its dream.
Let's go with the dream.
Yeah, the dream would be to own our own building.
Okay.
And I suppose a bigger building that we can help more. At the moment, we have 2 holistic rooms, 1 counselling room, and 1 meditation and yoga room, which also changes into a counselling room for us. And then downstairs we have a large meeting room. We just find 2 cancer centres in Cork City is not enough for the amount of people who are going through cancer. It's just not enough. We need to make ourselves bigger, more accessible to everybody. So our dream would be definitely a building that would do that for us. So if any builders out there would like to build a building for us, we'd be delighted.
Or landlords or developers that might have a few empty units.
Yeah, we'd be absolutely
plenty of empty
delighted.
units at the moment. So
that would be our dream. At the moment, it's all our rooms have turned into counselling rooms.
Yep.
Obviously, because our holistic isn't. Our meditation is done online, and so is any other of our treatments that we're doing, our holistic therapies. So all our rooms at the moment are being used for counselling, because we still do face-to-face counselling as well as Zoom and as well on the phone as well. So it's really making sure we can reach as many people as possible and help as many people as we can. The one thing I never want to be able to say to someone is, I can't take you. Or you have to wait, because when people pick up the phone, they really are at their wits' end. They need to speak to someone now, you know. So that would be my thing, really.
And as you said there, everything in the you have volunteers who
They're all
help
volunteers.
out with volunteers. So is there something that people could do to volunteer? I mean, I know now at the moment it's hard to get to do that.
See, the
but in
problem-
the long term, like, is there?
Like we always love volunteers.
Yeah.
We'd be delighted. I suppose we'd be delighted if some nurses or retired nurses feel they would be like to volunteer a few hours. But at the very moment, it's just our counsellors.
Yeah.
We have, because we have to be so careful about people coming in and out of the building, that, you know, that we don't have so many in the building. Everyone's safe, that we're following the COVID restrictions and guidelines and everything. So at the moment, we're not taking volunteers. Counselling would be the only volunteers we have. You were talking about fundraising. I jumped apart.
Last year, I suppose, obviously, was really tough for all charities who are based on receiving money from the general public and being able to run fundraisers. So all our fundraisers were cancelled. But one of the ones that stood out for me and for all of us in the centre was there's a lady called Ashling, I'm sure she won't mind us mentioning her name, who ran the walk with Warriors. Was it the Walk with Warriors?
They did Walk with Warriors, and it was
during the lockdown. You would go and walk X amount and get people
Amory.
to sponsor you.
Yeah.
Amory.
Yeah, sorry. And that was an amazing one. So stuff that can be done online, because all the backpacks are gone, collections, they're all gone, like, because everywhere is shut, you know. So it's coming up with thinking outside the box of stuff that we can do to generate money that is easy to do in the lockdown scenario. Do you know what I mean?
So this girl actually got a lot of her work colleagues to do it with her. And what we asked people to do, we were in the same thing as we are in now, except we're only allowed 2 kilometres.
Yeah, at the time, yeah.
So it was just to walk for 30 minutes every day. So that really saved us. We really kept our doors open. We couldn't believe the amount of people who got involved in it. So they said for 30 minutes a day, whether they walked or they did an exercise or they did something, but they promised to do it for 31 days or 30 days.
30 days, yeah.
30 days. And they made people sponsor them. So I thought it was absolutely great, but Anne-Marie was a huge support to us, and you were thinking of Ash, who's a volunteer, who's her sister inside.
That's right, yeah.
Who sees what we do. She's a huge support as well. So
I suppose this year for 2021,
we're doing it again.
We're doing it again, and we're trying to think of one of the other girls who works in the office with Linda came up with an idea, so we're working on that idea of how we can support people more using now technology and Zoom to help make it more comfortable for them and stuff, and keep that connection that we don't have inside where they come in face to face.
Yeah.
So there's lots of sort of projects we're thinking about, how can we make them fit and how can we make them work. So again, if there's anybody out there who knows that element of online stuff and how to help us, then we would be gladly appreciated to help.
Mm-hmm. And so I suppose I'm after running out of questions, but if any of you two have any other questions, or if there's something that we haven't talked about that you guys want to bring up or mention, now is the time.
Anything there?
No, I think, to me, more importantly, to thank people who have supported us. I know we're asking people to support us, but really anyone who supported us in the past, we're so very grateful. And the work that we do would not be possible only for the time they gave to us and donations they gave to us. We're so grateful for it.
Usually we have a kind of a quote of the week to close off our episodes. I think Mar has something prepared here. Do you want to give us a quote, Mar?
Yeah, do you know, this one was like the Gym Mama's quote every week. We're kind of picking something that's, that kind of resonates with me for the topic we're talking about. And, you know, there's so many quotes about, and you know, about you know, kind of being strong and fight every day, and you know that there's lots. I mean, we were even kind of looking up what's that guy,
Christopher Hitchens.
Christopher Hitchens, you know, because he, you know, to see like where the positivity would come. But kind of the more I kind of got ready for today and thought about today, I was kind of thinking, actually, the program today is about, I suppose, the support. You know, it's not about the fight. It's about actually, you know, like what people around you can help you through. So I picked a quote today from a Gym Mama's quote from Oprah. And she says,
Jesus.
yeah, Liam loves Oprah. Anyway, the quote is, surround yourself with only people who are going to lift you higher. And that resonated with me because I think, you know, for what the Cancer Club are doing for cancer patients and their families and friends, that's what they're doing. You're surrounding them and you're lifting them higher. So well done.
Very good. So for those that are watching in, listening in, make sure that you go across to the websites. Certainly the website address is corkcancercarecentre.ie, and you can also find Cork Cancer Care Centre on Facebook. I don't think you have a Twitter, do you?
Instagram and Twitter.
We do.
Instagram and Twitter.
Twitter.
Swit swoo.
Ah.
So there you go. So there's absolutely no excuse for you not finding out information about the Cork Cancer Care Centre, and we would encourage anybody listening to do whatever you can, whether it's to make a small donation off your own back, or to help organise some sort of fundraiser, or as I said a little bit earlier, if you're involved in a company, a large company, if you can twist somebody's arm to go ahead and sponsor the Cork Cancer Care Centre, that would be of great help.
Because it's something that touches everybody's home. It's really important this time round because we're in lockdown. It isn't government supported, and the government have so much to support. But actually, like, this is something on our own doorstep that we have the power to help, and hopefully one day we won't need it. But it would be great to think that we were able to kind of help provide something that is of such great support to everybody.
Awesome. So, Linda, thanks a million for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
Taking the time to kind of run through all of those things with us. And we hopefully you get some hits on the website from this anyway. For everybody else, this has been the Fight Coach, the Psychotherapist, and the Gym Mama. So until next week, hold on, there's my camera. Until next week, look after yourselves, and we will talk to you soon.